with account that's living life in the black. Run through the chaos, never looking back. Real as one mission, leading with heart. In finance and fatherhood, they play every part.
Hello and welcome to the Ash, Hubert and Kevin Pod. We are the AccountDads, the podcast for the finance and accounting leaders, strategizers, thinkers and doers. We're going to continue this episode and talk about maintaining and running a gym. We talked about buying a gym in our previous episode. We're talking about maintaining, running and potentially selling a gym. Ash, before we do so, however, you got an interesting icebreaker question for us?
Yeah, that's right. So what's one budgeting rule from your accounting background that completely failed when applied to your kids? Hubert's gotten so many. So what's one budgeting rule from your accounting background that completely failed when applied to your kids?
Tough one. I'll let Hubert go first here.
You can hear the gulp.
That's a good one. I guess, I don't know.
Well, I guess simple rule of budgeting is to stick on budget. Like we have entertainment expenses or things you do on weekends. We never stick to it because we just want to, treat our kids and treat ourselves. So that's probably a basic budgeting rule we never stick to.
Yeah, that's fair. You got any?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all got that. We all have the same issue when it comes to boys. You have a sort of, your food costs. That's going to, you think, like, I know with my son, you buy one yogurt a day, but next thing you know, he's eating 2 or 3. So, so they use that sort of all that, that sort of budget goes out of the way. And he's always hungry now. So I've got to change that food budget to include the growth stage now.
Gotta make your own yogurt, mate.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. Just got a good old cow at your house. And came on better.
Yeah, to do a village style again, eh? Buy the whole cow instead.
What about you, Ash?
Mine's buying multiples of the same thing. So to avoid arguments with the kids. So now I've got to buy the exact same toy twice. Yeah. I was just like, mate, one would have been enough and you guys could share, but nah. Sharing does not work at times.
Nice. The Mew and Mewtwo effect. It's good. Boys, last episode we spoke about gyms and we spoke about buying a gym. We went through a few problems and advantages of a particular gym who we did a bit of a deep dive in their P&L and balance sheet. Today we're talking about the maintenance and running of a gym. So we're going to kick this off by kind of using those previous financial statements as a baseline, but we're going to talk around generics just to help business owners running a gym, but also accountants or finance professionals managing the books of a gym to think about a few things. So maybe Hubert, do you want to kick us off? Prime us.
He's running the whole episode, by the
way. Yeah, so I guess when it comes to opening a gym, what are the main factors you're looking at? First, you need location. So are you going to buy a location or are you going to rent a location? That's one of your first expenses. Next thing you got to do is the fit out. So, you're going to have to need your front reception desk, all the gym equipment, showers, bathroom, all that kind of stuff. So you got to factor all like, what's that going to cost me to set that up? And that could be if it's renting, then you got your fit out cost and make a revision. Or if you buy it, then you're that's all coming out of either a loan or you're going to lease a lot of this stuff. So that's the sort of factor you got to think about. We can look into it deeper if you want. And then I guess what other expenses? So then you need some sort of software when it comes to managing your members. So you have to look at I don't know what is that? Is that the what sort of software?
Yeah, like a CRM or an applicant CRM, tracking, right? Or
So you have to look at one of those systems where, and I'm sure there's a wide variety of from cheap to very expensive ones, and depending on how complex your business is going to be, then you pick a certain one, and then staffing costs, cleaning costs, the utilities costs. So there's a lot of those factors where you got to that's what's, and this is when it comes down to how good you are when it comes negotiating with these providers and whatever to get the best deal. and that's what's going to determine how successful your business will be. I don't know if I missed any expenses there.
Equipment? Did you say equipment?
Yeah, that's going to, that's like part of the fit out where
Yeah.
whether either you're going to get a loan or you're going to
It's
get on
like
lease.
actual thing equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to touch that to a loan?
Oh, I
lease.
mean,
Gotcha.
unless you come with a lot of cash. So
Yeah. And also business loans to get stuff like that. Usually your banks, how do they do that? Do they
They're tied to
peg
the
tie? Yeah, to the asset. Yeah.
yeah, and plus you would probably come with a good business case to show.
Yeah, business plan.
How
Yeah.
you're going to repay that as well.
Yeah. Cool. So that's getting it started on day one. Did you talk about staff as well?
At a very high level, but we can talk about more.
Yeah.
What sort of stuff we need?
Yeah. Anything else he's missed, Ash?
No, it's got the big topics. I think you got maintenance, which seems to be the key topic. I think just talking about perhaps members who are going to fund those maintenance criteria, because you probably need to scale up or down those levels of service as it increases or decreases. So
Yeah.
I actually missed a big one. Advertising is a big one as well.
Yeah.
So you got to attract members. So how do you do that as well? Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually good because there's a gym opening up. There's heaps of gyms around us. There's a gym opening up in Underhill Park, Anytime Fitness. They haven't opened up yet, but for 3 months, there's been advertising on Facebook and stuff for it, just building anticipation, getting those pre-foundation member rates. You know, those are the kind of things that you try and lock in because you're trying to lock in recurring revenue for your business before you start functioning properly. I had something, but I kind of lost it.
Something as well, like especially when you're opening a new business, getting that early cash flow does really help.
Yeah.
So I know when we were building the zoo, like anything that can help us get a bit of cash in the start was something we looked into. So if you get the foundation member cash coming in, that's a huge help when it comes to setting up a gym. So definitely a strategy to look into if you're planning on opening a new gym yourself. So
yeah.
Did you have actual foundational memberships, or was it just anyone who donated?
We looked more like it was like sponsors and stuff which got involved to give us sort of upfront cash.
Should have called them only raws. Like would have been such a good take. Back to the gym. I think so like if you got members, I think so now if we look at some of the numbers, like how did you guys, when you first interpreted the maintenance cost, where did your guys' head sort of work with this?
Maintenance, what number was that?
Yeah, that's
OpEx, right? So like 580K for the year down the bottom.
Oh, sorry, the total OpEx. Yep.
Total OpEx.
Oh.
So I think the two assumptions we need to have is one, we've got 0 members. So Kev, to your point earlier, like what does it take day one to run the business? And the other one I was going to sort of explain was, let's assume we've already got those members, and so what happens there, right? So which one do you want to start off with? I'm going to say let's start off with the one with members already, just because we already got the data sort of in front of us. So when you guys are interpreting, what are you looking for? Just are you going for the big ticket items, or are you looking for the costs you can cut out? Like where's the headspace?
Yeah, if I'm coming to business, first thing I look at is where are the excessive costs. That's first thing I look at, and then if I can't trim costs down much now, then look at revenue. Like, how do I increase the revenue? And there's two methods: either increase your member base or increase your fees. So depending on your market, that's where you got to determine which way you approach that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying look at the big expenses, why are you looking at them in particular?
Well, you're thinking about what you need, how you need to control it, because there's big expenses that are fixed expenses. And a lot of the, I guess, misconception is you usually can't control it, but there's usually ways you can mitigate it. So like we were talking about in the last episode, rent, you can kind of sublease areas, or at least have that at the back of your mind to say, if I don't hit this target in 6 months, then, there's about 40K of my 240K I could potentially sublease to cafe or to a dance studio or something.
Or like a podcast brand.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff, right? Yeah.
Or you can put a food truck out in the car park.
Yeah.
Mate, this guy.
Yeah, but after work, don't you want a kebab?
No, good time.
So yeah, I'm thinking about there's different levers. There's your revenue lever, and that's a whole conversation in itself because there's marketing, advertising, sales, but there's your cost lever, and in those cost levers is different things. There's around staffing, and staffing is all about, we talk about efficient operations and processes and unmanned, manned staff hours. There's your rent. There's things like how you're going to operate with your personal trainers that come in. I know there's subcontractors in here.
Yep.
There's things like cleaning.
Yep.
If times are tough in a month, can I clean the whole gym myself? Those are the kind of conversations you're actually asking yourself as a business owner. And I'm actually like aligning this with Airbnb as well, like, because in a very similar Airbnb landscape, these are some of the things that we think about is if times get tough, can we do a 2-hour drive up the, what's it called? F1, whatever the freeway is, to do the clean ourselves.
Which is valid, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so that's what I think I would be looking at.
Cool. I think from my end, I'm a ratios guy. So I just went like down the bottom, went 580,000 divided by 580 members.
Yeah.
What's the cost? Like, what's the cost for them to turn up to my gym, right? Like just roughly, right? And just came back and said it's $1,000 per person. I get revenue at 1,300 per person, so I'm making 300 per person. And that's just like a very crude way of just like quickly slicing the numbers. And I went, all right, cool. If that's my sort of dodgy run rate, then we can go higher or lower from there, right? So now then you go back into your what can you chop out, and when times get tough, what happens? And that's all the situational or scenario planning, right? So, but yeah, they're good ways to look at it. And it's good because you all had unique ways of looking at the same set of numbers, right? Yeah. So it pays to get, some diverse opinions, right? So, yeah.
I think the most important thing for business like this is, I think business owners are and probably us as accountants are very risk averse. So we always look at costs, cutting down costs. I think it's got to be growth. And particularly for gyms, it's like retention is a big thing, issue that they have. So it's not just growing, it's how do I retain my members, keep them engaged, keep them coming back, and their direct debits continuing. And again, separate conversation because there's a lot of marketing and stuff in there. There's community building. But yeah, very quickly, why have you guys stayed at gyms? Because I haven't been at a gym for very long. Like, I feel like I chopped around a lot. But what's the longest you stayed at a gym and why?
The longest?
Yeah, because I've jumped around a bit as well, trying out different gyms, but I think, I don't know, are we saying names here or?
Fitness First is for mine.
Yeah. You can say names.
I guess the longest one I stayed in was at Riley's. Yeah. 7 Hills.
Hey,
but I guess I think for me it was more when the gym changed to become more felt commercialized, and that sort of turned me off. Yeah. So I sort of left then. But I sort of liked it when it's a bit more raw before, just like warehouse, big weights. Just I sort of enjoyed that environment a bit more. Yeah. So yeah.
I was the Fitness First. I used to change gyms once a year, roughly. Like, 'cause back then it was like 12-month contracts, right? So sign up for a year, use it, and then depending on what would happen, like I think going to uni or if you're starting work, and then whatever my circumstance was around that time, I just get a gym that would meet my circumstance. Fitness First was unique in the sense of back then it had lots of locations, and all those locations were very convenient to me. So that's why I went for that one. So yeah. And we had one directly underneath our work building, right? Like, so it's like very easy to get to. I didn't have to walk around even to a different building, just go downstairs. So yeah.
And you find these days gyms rarely offer like a fixed annual package as well, do they? It's all direct debit, pay weekly, monthly, whatever it is. Yeah. And I find it a bit annoying. Like, I just want to pay, like, give me the 12-month contract, I'll walk out of here. But they're like, no, you have to sign a direct debit. Yeah. And it's so hard to get out of. And it is a bit of a turn off as well for me, but that's just me, I guess. Yeah.
Everything's going to that subscription pattern now, right?
Yeah,
so even your Microsoft Office to everything else, right? Like
even driving a car now. Yeah. So I guess that's probably the future of business. I guess something, if you're going to start a business, that should be looked into as well. Yeah. So I guess we member base. I think they talk about this member base here. 80% was direct debit, right? So so they still offer that fixed price contracts here as well, which is I guess unique in that way. Like, not many gyms do that anymore. But yeah, that's something to look into as well. Whether you prefer the subscription based, where you can, I think it's easier to hold on to customers, or you want the fixed contract, which I guess every year to convince them to come back.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah.
I wonder why. I mean, I know subscription-based and recurring revenue is good for like valuations, but I wonder why businesses prefer it. Maybe it's better for the cash flow management too.
Yeah.
They can actually not get money up front and have to spend it all.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then it's just like this ongoing, like it's a quicker way to make sure. Like if you're on a subscription, how many times do you cancel like subscription just before it's ended? Like if it's not a free trial, we're assuming. Like once you're on it and you're using it ad hoc, like you just keep it going, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, I'll go to that gym like once a month, and then you may not.
Yeah.
But then you keep going, like, oh, I've got the intention of going, and you just carry it on, right? So there's a few ways to get those things going, right? So
I think like Hubert said as well, it's harder to cancel out of those. I remember like I didn't want to talk to this person at Fitness First face to face because they said you have to come in to cancel it. And I was like, I'm not in town, mate. But I was in the floor above. I was like, I literally can't come in. And like finally I had to go through all these different emails to get to one person who could cancel my thing. Oh, wow. So that's probably why they do it. What else, guys? Anything else that stands out that you would think about when starting a gym or running a gym?
I'd also be just looking at the times people are coming in. So I know it's a bit of a random one, but like when is it being used? So like that would then indicate like is there a valid reason for cafe or something else to come in? Because if we put a cafe in and let's say everyone's coming around midnight, pretty useless, right? So like just making sure that we align those costs. Yeah. So
maximizing, utilizing kind of your times. We spoke about this in the last episode, cash versus accrual accounting as well. This seems like it's cash accounting, but good to think through accrual accounting just so you understand your kind of cost base per month more specifically, even if you pay annual kind of costs and things like that. It's always good to understand your monthly cash outflow if necessary.
I've got a question on that because I guess I still was arguing with my old boss where I never liked accruals because if I was a board member or if stakeholder statements, I'd rather know exactly what went out, what went in that month, and it could be wild fluctuations. But I'd rather see that. Yeah, I'd rather see when big money comes in, when big money goes out, instead of seeing it all smoothed out. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion, but sometimes I prefer cash accounting because you can see exactly how a business operates periodically. With the highs and lows, you see it all instead of seeing a nice profit smooth. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just my personal preference, but
I think it depends. Probably not as important for small businesses, but I think it's important because it helps you accrual accounting helps you understand your actual revenue dips and growth. Say you have insurance that hits one particular month and revenue's dipped as well. Your actual underperformance gets masked by all of these ins and outs in your costs. And so proper accrual accounting helps you see, actually, I've got a problem because something's dipped in my revenue or there's some customer issue which has caused this. And so instead of focusing on explaining, our costs are up this month because we paid our annual this fee and this fee and this fee, you're actually focusing on the right things. And as well, you're talking about your monthly performance, putting your costs where they belong. And
I think for a big business, I think accrual accounting has to be the way. Yeah. But for small businesses, there's definitely a case for being cash accounting.
Yeah. And you think about this business particularly, if you're doing accrual accounting, you need to have an accountant sitting there doing a journal. You've got to do a month end every month.
That's right.
And you probably don't want to do that. But if you're an accountant, you probably might want to do that.
Yeah, because I guess that's another expense which you have to pay for, right? If you want an accounting service. So, whereas cash accounting could be done quite easily by someone who has a basic understanding of accounts. So, yeah, that's right. So, if you want to save money, cash accounting could be the way to go as well.
Yeah. There's also a lot of tools that kind of do some of this automatically for you. But look, you can always do cash accounting the first year and then flip to accrual accounting when you're about to sell it. Cool. Anything on the balance sheet, how to manage your balance sheet, things like that, cash, AP, AR. I guess AR get your money in early. AP get supplier agreement so you can pay it as late as possible. Is there a rule?
It's 2 rules, right? Yeah. Because there's like 80% direct debit, which is great.
Yeah.
That's one hassle gone out the window straight away, right? So which makes a lot of sense. And then I think it's after that's looking at equipment. That's going to be a big one, right? So with gyms, having gone to multiple gyms in the past, if their equipment doesn't work, that's going to turn people off, right? And you're going to lose people straight away. When gym equipment's flash hot, you've got a certain type of people coming in, not like the old Rileys, where you value like the old rugged equipment, but everyone now wants shiny, smelling nice, all that sort of stuff, right? So, you're going to have to make sure that's all up to date. And if something does go off, like what are you doing to fix it? And if not, replacing it.
Yeah.
So,
cool. Anything else before we?
No, for me, the final thing was just to check the two margins. So, which year were you talking at? 23, running at like a 10% margin.
Yeah.
24 running at 23% margin, right? So, just interesting. So if it's gonna hover between that for the expenses.
Yeah.
Take a bang on middle approach and come back and say it should be 15, and then try to work around that logic. Yeah. To escalate. So good times.
So I guess I got a question here. Like, if you were going to open a gym, would you seriously consider buying the location, or do you think rent's the best way?
No, I'd rent.
You rent?
Rent until you have, I guess, a bit of a name in that area. And unless you have the cash, right? Or like you can put down money for it.
You can get borrowed,
Yeah, a lot of people can't, right? Like you're starting off with very little funds. It's very, very difficult, especially this whole cost of living crisis. But if you start off, I think that will determine like what works for you, what doesn't, right? Like so.
And the other thing here as well is also the staffing. I guess we haven't talked about that. Like, to operate a gym, what staff do you need as a sort of permanent employee, and what's your casual look like? That's, I guess, I was trying to think that through, and maybe just talk that together. Like, I guess the owner, is he employee? Is he not employee? I guess then you probably got your front desk staff. They're mostly be casual, right?
Your front of house is usually can be casual, but if they're full time, like Ash said last episode, you can have a manned and unmanned type of gym. So you're 9 to 5 full time, 5 days a week or 6 days a week or something, and everything outside of that, your gym is either closed or unmanned.
And the rest will be contracted out, like your cleaning, your repairs and maintenance. They will be just contracted out, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
What you do is you hire an accountant to be your receptionist. And so between 9 to 5, when there's 4 people inside your gym, they're doing the accrual accounting. Oh, mate, close the loop there, right? Holy moly, we're onto something. Get a couple of students.
The accounting can also clean.
Yeah. Mate, there's always the answer. There's always productivity gaps, right? So mate, we've got this sorted.
Yeah. Cool.
It's good times. Well done.
Bye, Jim. Anything to cover? I guess we're running a gym just before we finish. We're about to sell a gym. Anything to cover just before we do that? Or we'll do that in the sell episode. We'll do that in the sell episode. Thank you for listening and watching. Hubert, take us to the break.
If you enjoyed that episode, please like and subscribe. And if you've got any comments, please comment below. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. We'll look into that as well. So look forward to talking in the next episode about selling the business.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, like this episode? Follow our channel for all things finance and accounting for your business. Get in touch with us if you have any questions, and we may feature it on the pod.